So, what if I told you that the single hardest working organ in your entire body, one that's on the clock 24/7, could be in real trouble, and you wouldn't even have a clue? Well, we're talking about the liver. Its whole deal is that it often suffers in total silence, sometimes for years or even decades, before it finally starts sending out distress signals. And some of those signals are, well, they're pretty surprising. For instance, do you ever just pop awake between 2 and 3 in the morning? It's so easy to blame stress or your adrenal glands, but the real problem might be starting somewhere else entirely. But look, before we dive into all the problems, you've got to understand something incredible about the liver. Just look at this quote. It can completely regenerate. We're talking even if a massive chunk of it is damaged, it has this superpower to grow right back. This resilience is key. It's the foundation of hope we're going to build on. Okay, with that in mind, let's put on our detective hats. Your body could be sending out these subtle little clues that your liver is struggling. So let's investigate 7 of the most surprising ones, the ones you might be totally overlooking. First up, let's talk about that 3 a.m. wake-up call. See, all night long, your liver is supposed to be drip-feeding your brain with storage sugar or glucose to keep it running. But if your liver isn't working right, that fuel supply can suddenly dip too low. Your brain, totally dependent on that fuel, starts to panic. It's like it hits this big red emergency button that floods your system with adrenaline to get more sugar moving. And that jolt of adrenaline is what snaps you wide awake. So the key takeaway here, it's not an adrenal problem, it's a liver problem. Okay, on to our next clue. And honestly, this one might seem completely random. Have you ever had this nagging, persistent pain in your right shoulder, maybe even creeping up into your neck? Well, when the liver gets swollen or damaged, it can actually push on and irritate a nerve called the phrenic nerve. This nerve's path goes from your diaphragm, which is right next to your liver, all the way up to your shoulder. This creates what doctors call referred pain. It feels like it's in your shoulder, but the problem is somewhere else. It's a classic sign, but one so many people miss. All right, clue number 3 is something you might notice right on your skin. You ever look down and see this big, mysterious bruise and have absolutely no idea how it got there? Yeah, your liver could be the culprit. It's basically a factory for producing the proteins that help your blood clot. So when that factory isn't running at full capacity, it can't make enough of those clotting factors, which leaves you bruising at the slightest bump. The next sign is another skin thing. And man, this one can be incredibly frustrating. We're talking about itching. A deep itch, especially at night and often on the soles of your feet. So what's going on here? Well, the liver makes bile, right? And if its plumbing system gets all clogged up, that bile can back up into your bloodstream and get deposited in your skin. The result is an itch that can just drive you absolutely crazy. Now for a sign that might just show up when you're trying to have a good time. Have you noticed that all of a sudden you just can't handle alcohol the way you used to? If even one drink makes you feel sick or inflamed or just generally awful, that is a major, major red flag. Your liver is your body's main detox center, and if it can't even process a small amount of alcohol properly, that's a huge signal that it is under some serious strain. Okay, let's look at a sign that can point to a more advanced stage of liver trouble. This one is a very distinct physical change. Now, it's really important to get the distinction here. We are not talking about regular belly fat. This is a condition called ascites. It's a buildup of fluid in the abdomen that happens when the liver is severely damaged. What's really telling is that it's often paired with muscle wasting, so you get this look of skinny legs with a protruding belly. This is a very serious sign that needs immediate medical attention. And finally, our 7th sign. This one affects your mood and your mind. If you've been finding yourself with a really short fuse, you're constantly irritable, or you're just walking around in a mental fog, it could be your liver. See, when it can't process protein correctly, a toxin called ammonia can start to build up in your blood. And that ammonia can travel right up to your brain, messing with your focus, your memory, and even your personality. So we've laid out the 7 clues. They all point back to a liver that's crying out for help. But what's the root cause? It's so easy to just blame fat or alcohol, but the research points to a different villain, one that's hiding in plain sight in foods you are probably eating every single day. So what is this hidden driver of liver damage, really? It's something called industrial starch. This is basically a hidden sugar, often made from cornstarch, that's used as a cheap filler and thickener in just about everything. Processed foods, fast food, junk food, you name it. It is everywhere, and most of us are eating tons of it without even knowing. And this chart? This reveals just how bad it is. Okay, take a look. Regular table sugar has a glycemic index of about 75. Pure glucose is the baseline at 100. But maltodextrin, which is a super common industrial starch, can have a glycemic index as high as 180. That means it spikes your blood sugar way, way more than regular sugar, putting this incredible direct strain on your liver. Okay, I know that was the bad news, but here comes the good news. Remember what we said at the beginning? The liver can regenerate? So let's shift gears and talk about a real actionable plan for recovery. Simple things you can start doing to help your liver heal itself. Here's the 4-step game plan. First, stop snacking. Just eating meals gives your liver a break and helps lower your insulin levels. Second, you gotta get rid of the main offenders, the sugars, the starches, and those industrial seed oils like corn, soy, and canola. Third, replace that junk with high-quality protein and lots of nutrient-dense vegetables. And fourth, make sleep a priority. We know for a fact that lack of sleep is directly linked to more liver damage. And when we talk about those veggies, here are some of the absolute best ones to focus on. Bitter greens, like arugula and dandelion greens, are amazing for getting your bile flowing. Cruciferous vegetables like radish, kale, and Swiss chard have special compounds that help with detoxification. And fermented veggies like sauerkraut or kimchi support your gut, which has a direct line of communication with your liver. So we end up right back where we started, with the incredible fact that your liver can heal itself. Knowing all this is one thing, but taking action is everything. So looking at this plan, I'll ask you, what's the very first step you're going to take to help out this amazing organ?